purpose of this live stream is to talk about mental health and mental illness. It's about normalizing mental health and conversations about mental health and mental illness. Not enough people talk about it. What I mean, we need to talk about it more, and we need to be more engaged with it from the perspective of everyone has issues. We all need to work on our mental health. We all need to be working on our degree of mental illness, because that's what we need in our culture more, is dealing with what's in our head. Because if you can see from the polarized world we're living in, something needs to happen, people. Well, good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Stephen Walker, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. This is my twice a week mental health live stream where I take questions and we talk about all things associated with mental health. If there's something on your mind, if there's something you want to vent about, if there's something you need some advice on, how to get treatment, what it's like to work with a licensed mental health provider, feel free to ask me some questions. I try to log on twice a week. Hasn't been too successful as school has started back up with a 5-year-old. Yes, 56 years old with a 5-year-old. Yes. And so we're trying to get him on a new schedule, which doesn't leave a lot of free time after you've done a whole day of frontline mental health providing, which I do full time in private practice. Want to talk briefly, real quick, about my Help a Human fund. Again, Help a Human. I get calls all the time from people who can't afford treatment, or I don't take their particular health insurance. This is a fund you can donate into, and I use all the proceeds to help a human, help somebody. Want to also remind you guys about BetterHelp.com. If you're looking to work with a licensed practitioner, and I highly recommend you find someone licensed and trained in mental health if you're going to be working on your issues, even if that's you need coaching or whatever, anything relating to thoughts and emotions, if you're trusting that to somebody who just says, hey, I know what I'm talking about. I've never worked with clients, but I know what I'm talking about. BetterHelp.com/Dr. Walker. You're not going to work with me, but if you put in BetterHelp.com/Dr. Walker, you'll get a discount on a membership with BetterHelp.com. And again, they approached me. I did not approach them. So check it out. BetterHelp.com/Dr. Walker. I'll put up a link for you in the chat stream. So again, remember, everybody, please ask a question or make a comment. Okay. Tonight's topic is how to know if you're a narcissist. And why I'm doing this is because of all the incredible amount of disinformation out there about narcissism. I wanted to weigh in on it from a clinical perspective, from a mental health perspective, not from I was hurt by a narcissist, so now I know how to tell you how to avoid having a narcissist in your life, which they have tens of thousands of views and followers, and people are just ingesting this without asking them, hey, why is this person bleeding on me? Why is this person telling me how to not be a narcissist or how to be a narcissist? You know, or not how to be a narcissist, but how to spot narcissism, how to work with a narcissist, how to live with a narcissist. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about how to know if you're a narcissist, not the other, not pointing the finger at somebody else, pointing the finger at yourself. Hey, Sigrid, how are you? You're going to need some counseling to manage your stress, doctor. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. My best counselor is my wife. She listens to all my problems and helps me vent and is always there for support. But I've done a lot of work on myself. I've been open and honest about that. I started in my early 20s when I realized, what the hell is going on? Why am I so depressed? Why am I so filled with negative emotions? And as I uncovered it layers and layers and layers, I began realizing that there's something to be said for talking things out. So let's get into tonight's topic. All right. Tonight's topic is how to know if you're a narcissist. So I quickly went on, I believe this is the Mayo Clinic's website on Narcissist Symptoms. So we're just going to run through a couple of these, and I want to highlight of all of these, which one, in my humble opinion, has worked close to 25 years, which one of these is the real telltale sign that you may be a narcissist. So let's run through a couple of these. Have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, have a sense of self-entitlement or require constant excessive admiration, expect to be recognized as superior, exaggerated achievements and talents, be preoccupied in fantasies. Yes, 5-year-old dropping his dinner, preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, and perfect. And you can run through these. I'll just scroll through these a little bit. But what you're going to see as you read through all of these is that this is pretty much describing most people. This is pretty much describing almost all people, because everybody to some degree has symptoms like this, have secret feelings of insecurity, shame, vulnerability, and humiliation. Does that mean you're a narcissist? Feel depressed and moody because they fall short of perfection? Perfectionism. Experience major problems dealing with stress, adaptation to change, have difficulty regulating emotion and behavior. So if you read through these slowly, and I'll scroll up and down these, what I want to highlight to you is that there's one in here that stands out sort of. So if you look at narcissism, like you look at a stew or a soup, the binding agent in a stew is water. So that's what binds and makes it a soup or a stew. So the one that, in my opinion, and this, when I say my opinion, remember, we're talking about my opinion based on years and years and years of clinical practice. So in my humble opinion, don't want to say informed because that would sound arrogant, this is the one we need to be most concerned about right here, okay? This is the one we need to be most concerned about. Have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs or feelings of others. Now, what is that called? Right? What is that called? Lack of empathy. Okay. So if you can recognize that you have a lack of empathy, I guess I should have done anyway. I'm just learning this platform I'm working. Hey, I haven't watched you in like 2 weeks, and this is my other account. I can't watch on my phone because if it had dropped in the washer in the bell. Hey, Ray, how are you? Good. I'm glad you're back. Yeah, I've been off for about a week and a half, so it's good to see you back. So good to see you back, Ray. I hope you're getting some work on some of that stuff we talked about before. So, but getting back to what we were talking about a second ago. So if you can identify that you have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others, and you really do have a sense that you lack empathy. Now, what's empathy? Empathy isn't sympathy. Sympathy is good. There's nothing wrong with sympathy. Sympathy is a good start. Sympathy is, oh yeah, that must be difficult. I feel, oh man, that must be hard on you. Yeah, that's sympathy. I'm there, where you're just kind of identifying with what somebody may be going through or experiencing. Empathy is you're actually trying to put yourself in that person's shoes. Now, you're not putting you in those person's shoes and thinking, well, gee, how would I feel if I was there? That's part of it. But empathy is trying to feel what they are feeling. And if you can recognize that you can't do that, you can't, cool, thanks, good to see you. Well, I don't see you, but I can read you, but thanks, Rhea. But if you recognize that you have a lack of empathy, people, that is a telltale sign that you are treading on the narcissist, the ice, sort of, if you look at it like thin ice. You got to work on that. Now let's talk about that whole idea of caring about how people think. So I was on, my personal Facebook page, and one of my Facebook friends had posted something about she had reached a point in her life where she didn't care what people think of her. She didn't care anything about it. And I posted a comment, and she didn't respond. But the point is, I know that that's what we see in social media. Don't care about what people think. Don't do your thing. Don't care about how you affect other people. That is as bad of advice that you can live by as any other advice that I see on social media. The idea of not caring about what people think about you, getting to a point where you genuinely do not care about what people think, that's narcissism. Because what that means is, I'm just going to do my thing and I don't care about how that affects anyone around us. And I know people say, well, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that you shouldn't lead your life by other people's opinions. Hey, Janie, how are you? Good to see you. How's it going being a frontline COVID provider? Hope all's well with you, Janie. I know that's what people say. People say, well, you shouldn't change how you are to suit other people. Okay, to a degree, maybe you're right. But if you're married or want to be married and can't figure out why you can't get in a relationship, maybe you might want to look at not caring about what your partner thinks or feels. That might just be an indicator that ain't going to work in a relationship. Because one of the things I challenge people to say is, when you say, hey, Penny, how are you? When you say, I don't care about what people think about me. I don't care how people what people judge me or whatever. To a degree, that's healthy. But the problem with that is, if all your friends didn't care about what you think, if all your friends didn't care about hurting your feelings, if all your friends couldn't care less what you thought about them, are those close friends? I mean, is that the neighborhood you want to live in? You want to live in the neighborhood where nobody cares about you, nobody cares about what you think? Or do you want to live in the neighborhood where people care about how you feel and are considerate of you and want to care of how they're affecting you? I was picking up my kid at school today, and I happened to see, a person with a T-shirt saying, lions, not sheep, or whatever. And of course, this person was unmasked when there's clearly a mask protocol in the school. And, I didn't say anything. But clearly what this person is saying is, I'm a lion. I don't care. I'm not a sheep. I'm not a follower. So basically what that means is, I don't care if I have COVID. I don't care if I pass that on to anybody else. So because I'm a lion, I'm a lioness. I don't care about what people think. I don't care how I affect people. And this is the problem we have in our country right now. We have a whole group of people who feels their personal freedom is more important than making people sick, making other people sick. And I have no clue where people think as a society we're going to be 20 or 30 years from now if this continues to go unchecked and unregulated. Janie's saying, I'm having really bad PTSD issues. A patient lunged at me, a very abusive man. I'm sure really triggered my safety. Wow, that's a lot, Janie. That's a lot considering, what you've shared on this live stream about some of the abuse you've went through. So how's that affect? How are you managing that PTSD? How are you managing that? How are you working on what that person triggered in you? So I would encourage you to sit with those feelings and talk them out with somebody, if it's a friend or whatever. But remember, Janie, it's okay that you were triggered. You didn't ask for the trauma. You didn't ask for the abuse. Okay. So keep posting questions or comments, Janie, and I'll come back to you. So that's from a mental health perspective. I'm letting everybody know who is watching this live or who's watching this after I post it. If you take the I don't give an F mentality too far, which is exactly what will happen if you buy into that, like that ridiculous book written by a ridiculous person who has no clue about mental health, talking about how the subtle art of not giving an F. It's the most ridiculous book ever written, because what it does, like with all these self-helpers, it takes a little sliver, a little piece out of a larger mental health treatment model and says, well, this will cure you. You will be fine if you do this, or if you do, which is ludicrous. Telling people who haven't done the work to support not learning how to not care so much is a recipe for disaster. Because look at what's happened in our culture. I don't have two F's to give, and I don't care, and I'm just going to do what I want. And I call it pathological individualism. So how do you know if you're a narcissist? Let's go back to some of these. Let's go back to one of the key ones. Where's my screen here? Have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs or feelings of others. You can genuinely say that you don't care about how people feel. you do not care because of your own trauma that you've been hurt so much, then you are pretty much bordering on narcissistic personality disorder. Now, all these other ones that I haven't highlighted, I mean, come on, who doesn't have, let's see. Well, this is another one too. This one here is another good key marker. I would say this is number 2 when it comes to, am I a narcissist? Believe that you're superior and can only associate with equally special people. That's a form of delusional disorder, okay? But when you couple it with lack of empathy, then you start getting into, and then they start going down. And I really wish people who would post these would put these in terms of descending or ascending order so people could understand which are the key most important ones. Take advantage of others to get what they want. Again, that's a symptom of lack of empathy. But who of us isn't envious of others? And sometimes think that other be them. Who isn't arrogant? Who doesn't want to have best things? Who doesn't react in rage? Have difficulty regulating emotions? And this is a good one too. Have an exaggerated sense of self-importance. But the key with all of this is that when it boils back down to a lack of empathy, a lack of caring. Okay, I'm seeing. Hey, Adam, how are you? Hi, is this caused by childhood trauma? Excellent question. I don't feel it is genetic, but can childhood abuse cause it? Brother, absolutely. Not only can childhood abuse cause it, it is one of the main symptoms of child abuse. And then when you say child abuse, remember, we're not just talking about physical abuse. There's emotional and psychological abuse. Absolutely. If you were raised by a narcissistic father, if you were raised by a father or a mother who could care less about you, or seemingly could care less about you or someone else, then absolutely you're going to have some issues with narcissism. But the key is, now remember, if you're watching this live, please share this on your timeline. Please share this somewhere where we can pull in people. We need to have conversations about mental health and mental issues. We all have them. Remember, my take on it is we all have a degree of mental illness, just like we all have a degree of physical illness, a cut. Some people have some degrees of COVID, with a flu, cold, whatever. We all have a degree of mental illness. We need to work on it. Okay. So back to Adam's question, which is exactly why I'm doing this live. If you're watching this live, we got a bunch of people watching live on Facebook and YouTube. Ask a question. Talk about something that's on your mind. This is not me just ranting about whatever topic it is. This is about me starting with a topic to engage with you so that you can then feel comfortable enough to say, hey, dude, what should I do about my problems with erectile dysfunction? Or my wife and I are fighting a lot. Or what should we? This is why I'm making myself available for free, so that you could engage with me. Yes, that rhymed. Anyway, so let me get back to a couple questions here. So yes, absolutely, Adam. Most, if not all, of these mental disorders are caused by unhealed childhood trauma. Absolutely. And if you can identify that, oh, wow, well, yeah, I do have trouble caring about people, or yeah, I really don't give an F what people think or think about me. Guys, that's like going to a cardiologist and saying, hey man, I get shortness of breath a lot. And I get dizzy and, I can't. They're going to be like, well, that's probably part of, and they're going to run tests. If you can say to yourself that you genuinely don't care about what people think about you, or you don't generally care about other people, I can almost guarantee you that is what happened to you as a kid. You were either hurt a lot, you were either put in a position where you didn't feel anyone really cared about you, and you then bleed that out on other people. That's called onto other people. You project that outward. Okay. So what can be done about that? Get into a situation where you can talk this stuff out of you, talk it out, focus, find a provider, a licensed provider, and say, hey, I don't know. I'm worried. I'm a little worried about, I maybe have some narcissism that I need to work on. It's so easy to point at the other. It's the libtards, it's the Trumpers, it's the gay people, it's the this, it's the that. Let's point the finger at ourselves, people, and work on our issues. Okay, we all have issues, myself included. Okay, so thanks, Adam. Let me see if you have any follow-ups here. Last question. No, brother, keep them coming. I'm in the UK. Sweet. I was there for my honeymoon. See my friend Pete from Birmingham. Anyway, terrible accent, I know. I'm in the UK. They use the ICD, not the DSM. How is it diagnosed? It's rarely diagnosed. Well, that's a good question, brother. And I'm not going to pretend I know everything about the ICD, because that's a global scale of mental illness, and I can barely keep up with what's going on with the DSM. But what I can tell you is this, bro. Don't effing worry about the diagnosis, okay? Don't worry about whether or not it's going to be diagnosed by somebody like me or a psychiatrist or your general practitioner. Do some research on it. If you can identify with certain qualities, like we talked about, some of these that you feel are bordering on more on the extreme side. There's this thing in the field called clinically significant impairment or distress. That's how a lot of times you cross the threshold. So is it causing me clinically significant impairment or distress in my everyday functioning, which is then causing me to have problems at work, problems in relationships? I'm perpetually depressed. I'm getting into fights a lot. If there are like yes, then then you need to work on this. You need to identify it, find a provider, tell them what's going on. Say, hey, look, I love that when I get a new client, or somebody saying, hey, I want to work on this or that. I'm like, yeah, beautiful. They're coming in prepared. And then tell them what you want to work on. Tell them you have some concerns with being a narcissist, and get to work on them. As people say, we can't self-diagnose. No, you can't self-diagnose, but if you have, oh my God, I've lost my sense of smell and taste, and I have a fever, and I have diarrhea, and then that's a symptom cluster associated with COVID. You're not diagnosing yourself, but you're saying, I may have friggin' COVID, so I need to get a test. So yes, Adam, you don't diagnose yourself and then stay there. Like I did a little rant at the end of my last live stream about, with Simone Biles and everybody, and Michael Phelps are, we in this field have been saying it's okay to not be okay for years. That's something that they're getting straight out of this field and then putting it out there like, oh, gee, where did it come from? But anyway, my take on that is it's only okay to not be okay if you're friggin' working on it, okay? It's not okay to not be okay and stay not okay. Think of it like this. So if I'm a heroin addict and I'm like, oh God, it's okay that I'm not okay. It's okay that I'm not okay. It's okay that I'm not okay. No. Or it's okay that I'm not okay, so I'm going to go abuse my wife or my kids, or it's okay that I'm not okay, so I'm going to go punch someone in the face who looks at me, wrong. No. It's okay to not be okay if you're working on it. I call that active acceptance. Active acceptance is I actively accept my issues. Let's say Adam realizes, okay, I got a little bit too many of these symptoms and they're causing me, okay, I got to be okay with that. Adam can't get into, oh God, oh, I'm so pathetic. Now I'm a friggin' narcissist. Oh God, now that's another reason to hate myself. I hate that I'm like, no, that's not okay. You got to say, Adam needs to say to himself, it's okay that I'm not okay, but let me work on it. Active acceptance. Passive acceptance is, it's okay that I'm not okay, and I'm going to stay not okay. No, people, it's okay to not be okay if you're working on it, and people need to work on it. If you realize, hey, I'm not okay. Hey, I'm not okay. I need to work. Then that's something you need to work on. Okay. Adam's saying, no problem, brother. I love England. I got many friends from the UK. My friend Len Otley. Oh no, he's the one from Birmingham. Pete lives in downtown London somewhere. Anyway, I read somewhere once you were 4 times more likely to develop a cluster B if you were abused. Absolutely. And Adam, my brother from another mother, from another country, from a pond away, bro, there's a common theme what you're talking about tonight. Sounds like Adam went through some abuse that he hasn't dealt with or hasn't integrated into him and begun working on it, bro. That's okay. Remember, you didn't ask for the abuse. If it's you did not ask for the abuse. If you were abused, and I don't know how old you are, I'm 56. If you're abused, and I don't care if you're 56, 15, 38, whatever it is, you need to work on that, because odds are, Adam, you're way too hard on yourself, bro. If you were abused, then you're generally a perfectionist and you feel, or you have a morbid fear of failure or something. So, bro, if you were abused, so I don't need to be a doctor to suspect? No, absolutely, you don't need a doctor, but you need a doctor for treatment. You need somebody with qualifications, training, license, and experience, because there are way too many of these people online. Okay, they think that, oh well, I was depressed, so now I'm going to go from a patient to provider. Okay, go from patient to provider with some training. Excuse my self-edit there. Absolutely, Adam, get some work on that, my brother. Work on that. If you have BP, if you think you have you think you may be bipolar, well, bro, that's another symptom of some trauma that you went through. Now, really, if you feel you have bipolar, bro, try to find a provider that's going to push you towards working on it before they put you on meds. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with meds. Hey, Angie, how are you? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with meds, but most psychiatrists, general practitioners, licensed psychiatric nurses, whatever it may be, take this pill. Not everyone needs medication. Now, if you need a little medication like a cast on your arm to stabilize and let some healing happen, then yeah, but you got to talk that out. Okay, Adam, you got to talk that out. Is BPD similar to narcissism? That's a great question, bro, but I don't know if you have bipolar 1, bipolar 2. I don't know what's going on. So bipolar 1 is marked by more mania and some depression. Bipolar 2 is you have more depression and then more mania. It's not real. I mean, there's some bipolar is more literally, and I was going to do tonight on managing your dualities, but I moved to this. Oh, I'm sorry, borderline disorder. I apologize. BPD could mean, a bunch of things. So borderline person, gotcha. Well, that's a whole nother, borderline, no problem. Borderline and narcissism do share some common things. And what I'm guessing, Adam, is if you think you have borderline personality disorder, you probably think because if you have unstable relationships, or you need constant sort of somebody to tell you, oh, you're this, you're that. But what I would encourage you to do, my brother, is you got to work on this. You got to tell yourself in the mirror tonight before you go to bed. And it's damn late over there, bro. I don't know if you're starting your day or ending your day, but you got to say to yourself, it's okay that I may have borderline. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It may be something I have to deal with. Okay. Let me get to a couple of other questions here. Rhea, sorry, Rhea, I missed your stream here. I think Tuesday night I was crying and could not stop crying about my iPad because screen crack, home button missing. I found it tonight on my bed. Didn't see it when my dad thinks it's done. Also, when I'm playing on my iPad, I just type it by itself and move the screen too. I can't even send people texts, damn, and stuff. That I cry hard about that. I have to go in 8 minutes, and thanks. The time is 8:30. Oh, so I don't know if you're still on. Well, Rhea, all I'll say to you, sister, is, the amount of loss you've had is going to be triggered by little things like this. We've talked about, the loss you've been through over the last few years and your unstable home life. Yes, little things like this will trigger an emotional response. It will. I would just recommend that I'm responding right now, Rhea. Calmate. I'm trying to get to your question. I would just recommend that you try to work on soothing yourself. Try to say to yourself, it's okay how I'm feeling. Hey, Jamaica, how are you? It's okay how I'm feeling, and identify that a lot of your reactions right now, Rhea, are going to be based out of some of the trauma you've been through. So the thing that I keep encouraging you to do, sister, is to tell your primary care provider that you want to talk to someone about what you're feeling. If you're getting triggered by little things like, your iPad breaking or things not going well in your world, and that's causing you to decompensate, meaning to kind of like lose it a little bit, that's generally a symptom of some underlying trauma that's getting triggered by that. So I would encourage you to work on some of that with somebody. Find a provider, find somebody that can help you with this, okay? Let's get to, I don't know if you're still on, Rhea. I apologize. Janie is saying, yes, blessings indeed. I did report it to my supervisor, the effect it had on me, but feel very isolated about talking to anyone about it. I just felt safe here tonight. Great. Well, thank you, Janie. Excuse me as I knock over my mic. We'll talk about it a little bit. What's going on? Like, what did it trigger in you? What are you feeling? I would say to you that you need to put yourself in a position where you can talk to Janie about what's going on. Oh, good, Rhea. So I don't know if you heard what I said. So I would encourage you, Janie, to, we've talked about this. You've sent me some private messages and we've, talked about different avenues you could go, but there's nothing wrong with needing help. There's nothing wrong with needing to talk to somebody. I mean, again, if you get COVID, you're not going to be ashamed to go to the ER. You're not going to feel like, oh my God, I'm such a failure. Some people might, but in general, people access medical help way more than they do psychological because of the stigma, excuse me, associated with that. So yes, I hear you, Janie, about reliving your rape and abuse. I feel you. But see, the problem, sister, is if you can't get into some sort of therapeutic exposure therapy, some place where you can feel that you can start reliving that on a therapeutic, from a therapeutic perspective, it's going to bleed out. You're going to relive it in little spurts. Okay, great, Ray. I'm glad you heard what I said, and I'm glad you're here tonight. So you need to say to Ray, it's okay that I got these issues. I didn't ask for the loss. I did. And tell yourself it's okay, but I got to learn how to manage my reactions. So Janie, what I'm saying to you is when it just blips out like that, that's when it gets incredibly difficult to manage, because it pops out like this, like volcano, or this like imagine if I had an open cut here or just healed over a little bit and it's the same thing with emotional and psychological pain. Okay. It's the same thing. You got to get yourself into a situation, sister, where you can start talking some of that out. Okay. And I feel for you. I do. I try to put anybody who calls me and they're clearly a frontline provider of treatment for people struggling with COVID. I put them at the head of my line, because or military people. If I don't take their insurance, I try to do what I can. That's why I keep trying to get people to donate to helpahuman.org, because I get calls from people every day. Oh, do you take this or do you take that? And I don't. And so helpahuman.org, people, don't forget, it literally goes from your pocket to, I think this is one of the, I don't know, what are they called? Help me out, people. This charity, one of the auction, not one of the sites that do fundraising sites. Sorry, long day. And goes straight from there into our company account, which then goes into, oh, okay, I've got $500. Cool. Who needs some treatment? Then I go down the line of people I haven't been able to help, and it goes straight into helping them. Okay. So think about it. Janie, I hear you. You can't trust. I just can't trust. And sister, that is a direct symptom of trauma. You've been hurt so much and it gets activated that you just collapse into this. It's better to not feel. It's better to not trust. It's better to not allow myself to be hurt again. And that is one of the hallmarks of untreated emotional wounds, unhealed emotional wounds. And Janie, I feel for you. I do, because I've worked with We've had Candace on here who's talked about some of the horrific abuse she. Man, okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Live stream. What can I tell you? Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for letting me know. Can you hear me now? 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 Can you hear me? Well, what can I tell you, people? Live streaming is not always what it's cracked up to be. Okay, great. Yes, apparently the mic went off. Sorry. So anyway, getting back to what we're talking about. If you're struggling with unhealed emotional wounds, people, they can be healed. They can be worked on. They can be, oh, thanks. My buddy in Hawaii just said, we can hear you now. Great. Thanks, Kaliko. Don't give in to this idea. Can you check my last question? Let's go up to Ghost Life. What's the question, Ghost? Let's see here. Where's Ghost? Can you give me some tips to help maintain a healthy relationship and how to tell if you are being taken advantage of? Because I think I'm a nice person and can tell when I'm being taken advantage of. Well, my brother, right there. If you feel you're being taken advantage of, then that's odds are that's a sign that you feel you're being taken advantage of. But in lieu of that, I would just recommend talking to the person you're involved with. If you feel you're being taken advantage of, talk to the person. Say, I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. One of the main tips to help maintain a healthy relationship is empathy. Empathy. Feel for the person you're with. Feel for them. Feel for them. And okay, great. Everyone's hearing me now. Feel for them. You know, Ghost, we've talked about some of the stuff you've been through in the past. If you were taken advantage of a lot in personal relationships, you've got what's known as a confirmation bias, okay? So basically what a confirmation bias is, through trauma or through negative experiences or what have you, we develop what's called a confirmation bias. And I did a live stream about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't know, check it out on YouTube, licensedpsychologist.com. Those of you who aren't on YouTube, that's a link to it, but it's all about how we get a confirmation bias based on trauma. And what happens is you get a bias embedded in you. So what happens when you get that bias is you seek out or you see confirmation of that bias in things around your world. So you'll see, so let's say Ghost was taken advantage of as a kid. So that becomes his I think you're a guy. I don't remember. Sometimes these screen names don't. So if you were taken advantage of as a kid, and that becomes a traumatic experience for you, that becomes your confirmation bias. That becomes what you start perceiving other stimuli coming at you. So even if it's innocuous, even if it's not somebody taking advantage of you, it's going to filter through that confirmation bias, and you're going to say, I'm being taken advantage of again. And then you get your trauma triggered if it's not healed on. So now your trauma is triggered. Oh, I'm back again to being taken advantage of. And then you're snowballing. I'm a guy, good. And then you're snowballing into more and more depression and negativity about yourself and the relationship. The best thing to do, my brother, is if you're in a relationship now and you feel that you're being taken advantage of, communication is the key to any healthy relationship, whether it's self-communication, how you're talking to yourself, or how you're talking to someone significant, talk to the person you're with. Ask them, do you notice any dynamic in our relationship? Do you feel I'm taking advantage of you? Do you feel, and then that's usually a good foray into talking about how you're feeling. But talk to her or him about how you're feeling. Talk to the person who you feel is being taking advantage of you. Talk to them. Maybe they've got some narcissistic qualities where they just don't, because of how they were raised, they don't know how to feel for you. They don't know how to feel for you feeling taken advantage of. Maybe that's just the way they are. Maybe they've just always been in a situation where they get their way. The main thing, my brother, is to talk about how you're feeling. Okay. Talk about how you're feeling. All right. Let me see. Adam is asking again, confirmation bias is like codependency. No. Confirmation bias, like I said before, is, think of the word bias. Okay, we all have biases. We all have a bias. We most of the emotional and psychological biases that we have are put into us by trauma. So if you take that word bias and put in the word confirmation, you seek out things that confirm that bias. Okay, so if I'm a hardcore Republican or a hardcore Democrat, that's my bias. So then when I interact with somebody of the opposite party, anything they, you see, libtards or Trumpers or whatever it may be. But on an emotional level, taking what Ghost was saying, if his confirmation bias is that he always gets taken advantage of in a relationship, then anything that triggers that bias is going to confirm, you see, there's no point of getting in relationships. There's no point in trying. I'm always going to get taken advantage of. And it just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. Talk it out with people. Talk it out with people in your relationships so that you can work through it with them. Okay. Ray is saying, okay, last time, see you next. If you ain't live, this time I'm done with something. Let me know how you got this. If you're done, because it's hard to find the timestamp. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. You know, the reality of this live stream is it's live and there are glitches. And what can I do? Because I don't want to be one of these talking heads online who is just putting out misinformation. Okay. And seriously, people, if you're watching a live stream, a podcast, anybody who is telling you to not give an F or to put yourself first all the time and not caring about what people think of you is the way to go, click it out off, because that is going to take you down a road you don't want to be down. That's going to get you more and more isolated and more feeling, because I don't know about you, but if I genuinely felt that my wife didn't care about how I think and what I feel and my opinion of her or anything, odds are I'm not going to care too much about what she thinks and feels or how I affect her. Okay. So Janie's saying, okay, so then every man is an abusive bastard. So far, 10 for 10. Yes. I have had years of therapy. Okay. For trauma. Then one incident can steal all the work I've done. I feel you, sister. I feel you. If you're telling me that 10 out of 10 men have abused you, man, I hear you, and I'm sorry that, and sometimes I'm ashamed of being, part of that gender, that Neanderthal male. But Janie, all I can say to you is this, okay? Not every man is abusive. I don't know what was going on with these 10 relationships. I don't know what your dynamic was, but yes, it does sound like the trauma that you've been through has been so confirmed for you that you genuinely believe that all men, all people are abusive pricks. And I feel you, well, it's happened in the past. This is how people stay locked into their biases. If they're racist, then, oh yeah, every black person I've interacted with, or every white person or whatever, and it just gets confirmed and confirmed and confirmed. All I'm saying to you, my sister, is that if one incident steals all the work you've done, we need to look at the work you've done. And I'm not trying to be judgmental. I'm not trying to say that you haven't done any work and you have back to square one, but that doesn't sound to me like you've been in a situation where you can have tools to not let that bleed out and collapse everything. Now, the question is, if it steals all the work you've done, does that mean, Janie, that that's dead now? Meaning that once it's stolen, it's gone? Can it be rebuilt? Do you have tools that can be rebuilt? If the spikes up and down are pretty pronounced, we need to look at that too. So what I would say to you is this. If you're in therapy now and you're still feeling like this, you may want to look at a new provider or somebody who specializes in trauma that can help you work through this, because I guarantee you, not all men are abusive. Not all men abuse women. Not all men have lack of empathy. Not all men are that Neanderthal male. Well, I got to go out with my friends. I mean, I got to get drunk once in a while. I mean, I got to do that. I got to play sports game. I got to do fantasy football. Not putting my fantasy football friends down. I'm just saying that not all men are unaware Neanderthal types of men. Not all men. Okay, because I know many who aren't. So Janie, I feel for you. I hear you, Janie. I feel you. I know you're just trying to keep things together. So just, Janie, before you log off, take it easy on Janie. Try to talk to Janie in a soothing way, okay? Because you're under a lot of pressure. You're under a lot of stress. And I know the anger of being triggered at work has just reactivated everything, sister. I feel you. I do. And then coupled with the amount of trauma you deal with on a daily basis. So you got a lot on your plate. This is when we need to work on self-compassion, okay? Have a good night, Janie. Good. Thanks for logging on. So Adam is saying, is abuse learned behavior? Yes and no. We do have sort of a genetic predisposition towards violence and fighting. I mean, that's how much of that is borne out. But what is predominantly learned is intensity of abuse, duration of abuse, how abuse is handled, how abuse is expressed. Are you talking about self-abuse? Self-abuse can be learned behavior. Great question. So I would say the majority of abuse is learned, is something that we see, something that gets normalized, something that happens over a period of time when we're kids, which then gets translated into behavior. So Adam, what I would ask you, brother, is, did you learn abuse? Did you learn abuse? Did you see your parents abusing each other a lot? Were you abused? And if you were abused directly, if that abuse was heaped on you, Adam, then you're probably self-abusing yourself. You're probably doing things to yourself that are consistent with, I'm such an idiot, or I hate failure, or whatever it may be. So let me make sure I got to most of these questions. Crazy that the mic went dead. Thanks for letting me know. Oh, Aria, I didn't see this. I don't know if you're still on. As a former PsyD student, I was frustrated for folks who were denied by some colleagues for their PD conditions. Okay, I don't really know what you mean by that, but as a former PsyD, let's make sure the mic didn't go off. Yeah, if you're still on, break that down a little bit for me. I don't know what you really mean. I was frustrated for folks who were denied by some colleagues for their PD conditions. Okay, so what I'm sensing is that you were frustrated when you had colleagues who were denied. Not really sure what PD means, because that could mean a whole bunch of things. Physical disability, it could be psychological disability, it could be a whole bunch of things. But yeah, it is frustrating when you have friends or colleagues who get denied promotions or denied whatever because of certain psychological, physical, or emotional conditions. And if you're a former PsyD student, I would ask you, why former? What's going on with that? Did you finish it? What's preventing you from getting that doctorate? Because, I'm a big proponent. Oh, personality disorder. There you go. Okay. Could be. Yeah, that's what I said. It could be psychological disorder, physical disorder. So, yeah. And personality disorders, that's a whole nother debate. People have this belief in our field. A lot of people believe that once you have a personality disorder, it's static, it's forever. I hear you. I understand that may be true for some people. I'm telling you, it's not always true for everyone. Some people who have personality disorders, like Adam said, it's underlying trauma that's holding that personality disorder together. The personality disorder becomes actually an adaptive mechanism to trauma. So once the trauma heals, guess what happens to the personality disorder? It abates to a large degree. Okay, people? So the bottom line is, it's okay to not be okay if you're working on what's making you not okay. Work on it, deal with it, work on your relationship with yourself. Remember, your relationship with you is the number one should be the number one relationship in your life. How you talk to yourself, how you deal with you should be number one on your list. Helpahuman.org. You know somebody that's loaded, point them in that direction, because this fund, if I can get it funded, will help thousands of people who can't get treatment. I have other providers I could pull in on this. If you have an ability to help other people and you've always a desire to help other people, if you wondered how to do this, helpahuman.org is a way you can donate directly into it, and I can use it to fund treatment for people that I wish I could give away my services. Nothing would make me happier. Nothing would make me happier than to be able to give away my services for free. But until someone's going to pay my health insurance, my mortgage, my internet provider, feed my kid, all the other bills associated with a capitalistic society, unfortunately, I'm hamstringed by that. So thank you everyone for logging on tonight. I'm going to try to get on at least once a week moving forward, now that things are a little bit normalized in the Walker household with our 5-year-old. So don't forget to check out my website, licensedpsychology.com. Again, if you're looking for help and you want to get a provider right away, betterhelp.com/Dr. Walker. Put in the code Dr. Walker. You'll get a discount. All right, people. Well, have a good night. Thank you to everybody who logged on. Adam, get some rest, my brother. You're up way too late. Way too late, Adam. What is wrong? I'm kidding. But thanks for logging on from the UK, and everyone else who was live. Thank you. Remember, people, please, please, please do not suffer in silence, okay? Don't suffer in silence. Don't buy into this idea that you are broken, that you will always be this way, that you'll never heal. That alone is a confirmation bias, the belief that you're never going to heal, you're never going to get better. You have to suffer. No. These emotional wounds can heal. Now, I didn't say they'll go away forever. I didn't say you'll never feel them, but the acuity, the intensity of the feeling will abate and abate with the more you heal them and work on them. Okay. All right, guys, I'll see you probably next Thursday. I don't know. I might be able to get on next week. Thank you for all your great comments. Thank you for your support. And I will look for you next week and we'll see where we're at. Remember, everyone has a degree of physical illness. Everyone has a degree of mental illness. There's nothing wrong with it. Work on it. Okay. Work on it. Make it okay and work on it. All right. Destigmatize it to yourself. All right. All right, people. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Peace out. Send me messages, whatever you have questions, and I'll try to get to them. All right. All right, guys. See you next week. Take care. Kyle, focus on driving, my brother. Get off the poly highway and focus on